Gentlemen, welcome back, and ladies, welcome back. We are just about ready to test. Last thing, as you read, is fitting the internals. Now, if your kit came with the original internals, go ahead and use them. They're actually really good. They're fairly crisp, and it has a nice break. I've used a couple of them that have nice internals that work just fine, but this one didn't. Or if this one did, I may have misplaced it, because it was a while before I started working on this. So either way, we're going to put new internals in. Notice I say internals, and you all know why. You know what I'm doing here. There are reasons for that. When it comes to these, there are a couple things that you have to do different from the original internals that were going in. To make this reset, hopefully we're past the point of no return and I can say specific words. To make this trigger work, you have to remove, there's a couple things you have to do. First thing is this won't, let me see if I'm in focus, yes. The trigger here won't reset far enough back. It basically won't rock. I'll put it through here so I can pivot it. It won't rock far enough back to catch the top of the hammer unless you remove a little bit of meat here on the side. So that's what I ended up doing on both sides. That allows the trigger to sit a little bit deeper when it rocks forward. That's the first thing that needs to be done. The second thing that I found was on my trigger, you would put it on safe and it would still go click and bang. So what I ended up doing was just taking a TIG welder and I TIGged on just a little blob of material here in the back. So I welded on some material and then ground it in and shaped it, filed it in until I was happy with the amount of movement with the safety. So you got to fit that part in. Once that's done, your trigger part itself is complete. The other thing to do, the only thing I had issues with after doing that was the tail that's on the back of the disconnector. Notice if you look in yours and you have a complete original disconnector, a lot of times they'll have a tail coming off the back here, and that is only used if you have an original full auto. If you do, that tail, when you click the safety up to the continuous mode, the safety actually holds down on the disconnector, keeping it back and allowing the secondary sear to function. If you ever need to go look up a video. There's a video, maybe I'll try to link some of this stuff in the description. There's a video, a really interesting video of a 3D rendering of an AK mechanism, and you can see how this tail works. So yeah, click that into secondary mode. The safety then depresses this tail and keeps the disconnector from working at all. And then the secondary sear up front, the trip, basically is what now acts as your secondary sear, and when the bolt hits home, it trips it. That's how it works. So that's the other thing to do, and the reason for doing this, and I'll show you when we get over the top of the receiver, was the springs for the hammer. The claws were coming over the top and pressing down on the back of the disconnector, and it started causing, it turned it into a binary trigger, which, as cool as that is, I didn't want that to function that way, so we trimmed that up. Last thing to do is you got to make sure your pins don't walk. I don't have the original spring here. It's called a shepherd's hook. If you have the shepherd's hook, go ahead and use it. It's not a big deal. It will work perfectly fine. If, like me, you don't have one, you can make one of these AK plates work just fine. Basically, a lot of you guys will notice that there's no spot here. Typically, when you put this in, your safety would run through a little hole there, and that would allow it to basically not back out. Take yours. These are cheap enough. Don't worry about cutting them up. Don't get the other one. There's too much meat. Personally, I found that there was too much meat on the Tapco one for me to want to mess with. Get one of these that has less meat on it. Just makes it easier. Cut the back end off, and then slowly with a grinding bit on a Dremel, file it in and round it off until when you put it in, it fits let's see if I can make this work. It'll fit up against here, not on the inside. It'll fit up against this ring. Oh, hold on. Let's back up. You see this ring here? That's the stop for where it goes into the receiver. This will fit. Basically, I have it hand fitted where it will just bump right up into that, and it won't allow this to back out, and it will hold the pins. It'll just, all this does is kind of sit in there and hold the pins in place. So, now that we're done there, we need to put this back together and do our test. So that's all I got for you guys on this particular video. Let me put it back together, and I'll time-lapse that. Actually, you know what? If anybody needs reference material, I'll do this. I won't time-lapse this. I'll show you how it all goes back together in case, because I actually, for one of the things, I had to go look up some reference material on an AK trigger, and that video of how it functioned actually really helped out. So just for reference, I'll do this slow so you can see it coming together. Let me get you guys over the top and brighten up the lighting so you can see down in here. I'll be right back. All right, I've gotten you guys in over the top as best I can. Like a regular AK, your trigger is, or your hammer springs should be back. We will take our trigger and drop it in. And as you can see, let me put my pin through so I can show you what I was talking about earlier. Pin goes in. If you don't clearance these hooks in the spot here in the back, if I turn it like that, it's even better. If you don't clearance the spot here in the back that I was saying, this hook doesn't come far enough back to actually catch the hammer, and it makes it unsafe. So we're leaving metal back down in there, allows the hammer to come far enough back and reset properly. We'll take our disconnector, put our disconnector in, press down your disconnector and run your pin all the way through, and you'll see it. You guys, anybody that has an AK, it's exactly the same as building up your AK. Okay, like that. Let your springs down. I can't find my needle nose pliers, so this is what we got for today. Make sure your hammer pin stays in. Let your springs down. 1, and pull trigger, 2. You can see down in there where that claw is. You can actually see it perfectly. That claw there, and actually the claw on this other side here, was depressing the tail that comes off. The tail actually would come out to about here. These two claws were sitting on top depressing it and keeping this from actually functioning. They were just keeping it back like that. So that's why it's important, I have found, for this one in particular, trim that tail off. If you're not going full auto, then you don't need it. Last thing, get your anti-pin thing. If you have a shepherd's hook, just go ahead and use it. It's not going to hurt anything. For me, I don't have one. So that goes in, that sits down, and I could have probably left a little bit more meat here on the bottom, but I cut it, instead of cutting it at an angle backwards like this, I kind of cut it a little straight. So if you're working on this yourself, you can always cut this at a slightly more meaty angle and then round it. But either way, when you go to put your left side safety in, you see like that? Hopefully it's probably pretty dark, and I don't have a flashlight. Actually, I can use my phone. Hold on. Come on, phone. There we go. You can see, there we go. You can see that it touches here. It touches that safety, so it won't walk itself out, but it's not blocking the safety from moving into the hole completely. You want this to be able to fit into that hole without being blocked, just like that. All right, then put everything back together. Put this back in, back in, pull your trigger. The spring likes to get in the way, so I need to make sure it's out of the way. There we go, like that. And everything's ready to go. You can test it on safe. Nothing happens. On fire. Get a click. a reset, and a click. So we're good. We're done. Last things to do, I'm gonna put everything back together, and I will see you guys in the next video out at the range. We're gonna test this thing out, so. Hope you guys like this. I really do hope you guys find this stuff interesting. Hand fitting stuff like this is pretty cool. If you do like this type of thing, make sure you like and leave me a comment. I do read all of them. If you want to help out, I'm going to do some e-begging on this one because this 80% of this build series has been unmonetizable. If you want to help out directly without signing up for a service like Patreon or something like that, I'll leave links to Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. So if you want to just donate coffee money, I will take it. That latte is making my hand shake, so I need to thank whoever donated that last bit of coffee money. It was very good. Coffee or beer money is always welcome, and maybe we should start doing a beer thing. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys donate some beer money, I can drink a beer while we work on stuff, and we'll have something new and interesting every video. There's a guy that camps that does that, and I kind of like it. I might steal it from him. Anyways, guys, I'll see you next week when we go and test this thing out. I hope you guys like it. I'll see ya on the next one.